سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Respected elders, shuyukh, special guests, uncles and aunties, friends, family, all those present here today, and those that are watching on social media, I'd like to extend a very hearty, a very warm greeting to each and everyone here today on behalf of Al-Mukhlisin Jamaat. They call me Haji Rashad Davids, for those who don't know me. And I have the distinct pleasure today of directing events. I would like to invite you to join us on this journey this afternoon as we explore our heritage, or rather the preservation of the Ratib Al-Haddad from the home of Hajj Achmad Sedick through to Kalk Bay and Claremont Masjid, and how the reins were picked up by our Amir and Imam Fahmi Sedick, and how Al-Mukhlisin tried in their humble way to preserve that legacy by embarking on the selfless journey to document the events as they unfold. Before we start with the program, again, I'd just like to ask Imam Yusuf Pandi to open with a dua. Imam.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم إنا أسألك العفو والعافية ومآفة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار. اللهم في مرضانا اللهم في مرضانا اللهم في مرضانا وارحم موتنا يا رب العالمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. شكرا.
So shukran to Imam Yusuf Pandi for the opening dua. My program this afternoon is firstly to call on Maulana Irshad Sadiq to give us a synopsis of the actual documentary that we'll be seeing just after he has spoken. So I call on Maulana just to come up and to do the honors.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Don't worry, Sheikh, I'm not going to sing Rosa. At least not today. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. I welcome each and every one of the uncles, the aunts, brothers, sisters, family to this wonderful occasion. I welcome each and every one to this wonderful occasion of family and of preserving heritage. The objective behind the event is essentially just to preserve tradition and culture, which I think the last 2-3 years has really highlighted as being something extremely important, more than just for its religious value, but also for its cultural value. The way that our culture has been pristinely preserved over a course of almost 400 years in the Cape of Good Hope is a testimony to the love and the passion that all of our forefathers had for us and for Deen. And they instilled that within us. What we notice is that the passion comes forth within the culture as it brings families together. I recall growing up and having not one, but at least 2 family gatherings a week. And generally speaking, these family gatherings were centered around the dhikr or the khadat, as we call it fondly here locally. But little did we know that over and above just being a dhikr, it was also a way of bringing that family together. And when you see the tradition dying down, you also see the family ties start dwindling. So when once upon a time it was quite ubiquitous to find family visiting one another, friends visiting one another, purely for the sake of being family, now that is more of a rare occasion. It's becoming more and more rare to find. So Uncle Fahmi and the cousins and all those involved, I'm not going to mention specific names, but they've undertaken a beautiful venture in not only reviving, but trying to preserve this heritage. And in the process, they managed to accomplish a number of beautiful feats as well. So for one, we all are very much familiar with the fact that we have one of our ancestors who happened to be a great contributor toward the preservation of Deen in the Cape of Good Hope, as well as the preservation of culture. And this includes the Haddad or the Ratib Al-Haddad. So for those who don't know, we have one ancestor by the name of Sheikh Muawiyah Sedick, who was the first Imam of the Yusufiya Masjid in Wynberg. And it is also well known that Sheikh Muawiyah Sedick was the teacher, the hifz teacher of Sheikh Salih Abadi. And Sheikh Salih Abadi, he took the Quran far and wide around the world. Many of our shuyukh till this day call him teacher. It is also known that Sheikh Muawiyah Sedick was apparently, this is what was reported to us, the first from South Africa to lead the prayers in Masjidul Haram in Makkatul Mukarramah, where he learned and studied. But while he was studying there, he also sat at the feet of many great scholars, the likes of Sayyid Abdul Aziz Al-Maliki, who was the great-grandfather of Sayyid Muhammad Alawi Al-Maliki. Now, Sayyid Abdul Aziz Al-Maliki, interestingly, gave our ancestor, Sheikh Muawiyah Sedick, the ijazah, what we refer to as the permission, and included him in the isnad, the chain of transmission of the Ratib Al-Haddad. So he actually received an official ijazah in that capacity. He then taught the Ratib Al-Haddad to Hafiz Hassan Abdul Rahman, who taught the Ratib Al-Haddad to our grandfather, Hajj Achmad Sedick, as well as his brother Abdul Aziz Siddiq. And then from our grandfather, many of us learned the Ratib Al-Haddad, and Uncle Fahmi, who was for all intents and purposes taking my grandfather's place in that capacity after he passed on, rahimahullah ta'ala, continues to preserve that legacy here today. So it's a wonderful thing, it's a beautiful act of preservation, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from them, and may it be a means for the community and the family to stay together for longer. That leads us to the story of our grandfather, how he received it and how he passed it on, and that is essentially what we are here for today. So mabrooq to all of those who contributed to this venture. May Allah ta'ala accept it from you and place khair and barakah in your endeavors, inshaAllah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Shukran Maulana for a very compelling history lesson, something that many of us do not know, and we are inspired by that. I want everybody now to sit back and relax as we play the documentary that we put together for you. That will be just before Asr, and then please, when we go to the masjid for Asr, that we just use the door on my left, so we can commence with the documentary.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا مولانا Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I am Nasser Mayet. I am the youngest son of Mariam Sedick and Umar Mayet. And we grew up, I was born in 54 3rd Avenue La Monte, and my mother, Mariam Sedick, being the eldest daughter of Hujra Sedick and Muhammad Sedick, and they stayed in the next road known as Matthew Road. And Mariam Sedick was the eldest of Hujra Sedick and Muhammad Sedick, and she was followed by the second eldest daughter, Ruqayya Sedick, followed by Abdul Aziz Sedick, commonly known as Jolly. And then there was Ahmad Sedick, your grandfather. Then it was Khadija Sedick, married a Wali, Yusuf Ali. And then we had our own Yusuf Sedick, which is also your father's name being Yusuf Sedick. So there's been quite a couple of Yusufs Siddiqs down the line in terms of the Sedick family, inshallah. Yes, growing up in Claremont was a small pocket known as Harfield Village. It was sandwiched in between Lansdowne Road and going to Kenilworth, and between First Avenue and Rosmith Avenue. And then across the Rosmith Avenue was also a few roads known as June Street, May Street, and there was also a few so-called colored people. But we were a thriving community in terms of our deen, and our focal point was the masjid, Harvey Road Masjid. And the old imam at the time when I was still a youngster, he passed on, known as Imam Amin Bonds. When we passed on, we elected, or rather the community elected the new imam, and in the form of Hafiz Imam Hassan Abdul Rahman, and we had great other sheikhs, for example, Sheikh Tarin Moos, who used to visit the area, also teach deen in that area, and his brother, fondly known as Sheikh Poni, who also taught my two eldest brothers, Ahmad and Mansoor. And I think also they were the influence for your grandfather, Hajj Achmad Sedick. So as much as he was taught by Imam Hassan, because by the time I grew up, your dad was relocated already to Kalk Bay, or rather your grandfather relocated. So I think the people that had an influence in terms of the Ratib Al-Haddad, the recitation, was Imam Hassan, and I also think also Sheikh Tarin Moos and Sheikh Poni, fondly known as Sheikh Poni in that area.
It was in this suburb, better known as Claremont back in the day. A special man in our lives, Hajj Achmad Sedick, was taught the Ratib Al-Haddad. So Hajj Achmad Sedick and his brother were taught the Ratib Al-Haddad by none other than Buddha Hassan Abdul Rahman. So interestingly enough, Hassan Abdul Rahman became Imam Hassan Abdul Rahman. Imam Hassan is the uncle of none other than Sheikh Ibrahim Gabriels. So in 1945, Hajj Achmad Sedick moved from this area to Kalk Bay. He got married to Rasira Sedick, but he traveled by train back to Claremont to continue with the recitation of the Ratib Al-Haddad. So history tells us that Sheikh Yusuf of Makassar brought Islam to Cape Town. Phenomenal that Hajj Achmad Sedick brought the Ratib Al-Haddad to this area known as Kalk Bay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Nuria Sadiq. I was born in Kalk Bay in 1951. My father was a handyman at the Robin Gordon Hotel for nearly 50 years. My mother did washing, like a laundry, washing for lots of people around Kalk Bay, Fishhook, Falls Bay, Muizenberg, St. James.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Madani Hussain. I'm the son of the eldest son of Haji Sali and Haji Fatima Hussain. I was born in Kalk Bay. All my siblings is Rufiat, Safia, Nabawiya, Salama, Abdul Karim, and Muhsin.
Ja, my pa was 'n baie stil man. But as 'n vister, daar ek glo net hulle het baie gepraat van hom. Hy was 'n baie goeie visterman gewees. As ek soms saam met hom uitgegaan het met die skei en ek vang vis en ek kan nie so lekker, dan vat hy sommer die loot, dan gooi hy sommer die loot, kan jy nie reg vang nie. So was hulle gewees, jy moet op jou tone gewees het vir hulle. Ek is Shahid, die seun van Muhammad Touchi en Auntie Tifa. Hulle het vir hom genoem Choki.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Abdullah Hussain. My wife's name is Yumna. And my father's name is Zainuddin, fondly known as Babies. And my mother's name is Fatima, fondly known as Auntie Tima. Yes, I was born in this house and grew up here till when I got married. And I moved to Steenburg for a couple of years, but I never regarded myself as a Steenburger. Whenever they used to ask me, waarvan is jy dan? Then I would tell them, ek is 'n Kalk Bayer.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Zainab Salim, born Amos, daughter of Yusuf and Khawa Amos. We originally from Cape Town, specifically Dry Docks, close to Silver Tree, better known as the rugby club in town at the time. I got my first introduction to Buddha Ahmad and his Jama and the people of Kalk Bay when I came to make Tarawih Salah, even before I got married to Shahid.
There was times in the mosque, especially Travis, there was an old Java, I think it was a Java guy, but he was very short and stout. Then your tata, your daddy, your daddy's daddy, your opa, used to tell us, no, the ou speel op die left wing. Then what we used to do is, there was like, before this carpets in the mosque, there was like a long rows of Rita Mata. And then we used to tie the ou's juba on the end of the thing. And when he goes down for sujood, but when he comes up, then the whole row of Rita carpet goes to.
Every Thursday evening, my daddy just started. Coming from Claremont, he married my mommy that stayed in Kalk Bay. Every Thursday, he took like all my cousins, guys, and the cousins, all who stayed only on the dam. There was called the dam and the lan. The lan was where the fishermen's flats was, and then we stayed at where the mosque was. And he took them all, and he started teaching them the Haddad. And every Thursday evening, the dining room was full of young guys. And it was me and my cousin Washila. We were the only two girls. My sisters were all there, but we always used to sit in the Haddad. And the only thing that my mommy used to make every Thursday was a big pot of boeba, and that was it.
Die Haddad is dat jou pa was die enigste een, jou oupa was die enigste een wat daar gesit het. Ons het geleer net om in hulle monde te kyk. Ons het nie geleer boek, kitabs en so aan nie. En as Haji Salih daar sit, dan sê hulle vir jou, jawab, dan skrik jy ook maar. Jy moet nou saam dinge, maar ons het nie geleer. Jou pa was die enigste, jou opa het vir ons geguide. Ek weet nie wat hy die knowledge vandaan allemaal die gekry nie. But hy is die ene wat altyd voorgeding is vir ons. En het altyd, sy kopie thee was daar op, ek weet nie, met koud gehoord het, voordat hy het gedring het. Maar as hy klaar is, dan vraag hy vir Haji Salih, Salih, hoe was die team vandaan? Hulle het maar recht gespeel hoor. So, hulle was lief vir die soort werke, man.
Kijk, die tijd, ne? Zoals ik zei, was het, mijn opa was die imam, en dan imam Damun, wat achter mijn opa geweest zit. Hij was die khalifa, onze slaapschool gehad bij imam Damun. Daar was hij huis. Nou, jouw opa, daar Ahmad, ik bleef langer dan imam Damun. En als we daar slaapschool gegaan hebben, donderdags aan, met de Ahmad als ik gezegd, was het dat maak vandaan. Was het krediet. Daar was ergens die mensen die tijd maken gaan dat en gaat dat, want ze zeggen die werken wat er gaat maken. Maar was gaat dat, nou, Puta Ahmad en Puta Hussein, Rankis, alle was hij gaat dat man. Puta Lunci was hij Batsaman. En Puta Ali, zijn broer, alle toen kwam weer, Batsa, mijn opa. Maar Puta Ahmad en Puta Hussein. Hij laat die dat onder ons gemaakt, samen met allemaal die youngsters die tijd. En samen met Haji Salih en Pa en dat Doodje en allemaal die mensen. Tot ons had dat gemaakt.
Puta Ahmad was altijd daar, een baie pleasant man. En ik was kind geweest wat hij daar intrek, kom blij daar. En hij was maar altijd Puta Ahmad.
Hij was een baie pleasant mens. Nooit een moeilijke mens nie. Kan allemaal jou, altijd jou, die andere mensen zeiden, dan zien en dan kan het, you know, hoe zal een mens zijn?
Hij was een handyman. Maar ik was nog een handyman werk, was hij te doen. En hij heeft, zoals je zei, hij was die bilauwwerk gedaan en dan fikker maken. Hij was samen achterin. Dus hij Salih was nog in mijn bilau. Maar dan was hij nou, als iedereen ander moet, als het Ahmad, hij moet voor hem komen. Hij zit er daar.
This section here was the Malay quarter, the masjid. That's why the masjid is there. There was such a lot of Muslims living around the, what they call the Wasdam, and up into Rosmead Road, Lever Street, up Quarterdek Road here. We had fantastic people living that era, namely people like your grandfather, Puta Ahmad. I had the privilege of growing up in front of him and being part of his Jama'ah. And Haji Salih, my uncle, was allemaal bang voor hom geweest. Hy het vier in allemaal gesit. Then we had some learned people up top there, by what they call the flats, Puta Lunchi, and my ustad, which was Puta Qasim, they called him Paps, Puta Qasim Imam Din. May Allah have grant him high place in Jannat.
Of Rasira, better known as Iya, and Ahmad Sedick, that was known as Sheikh in Kalk Bay. In the evening when we all gathered to make Maghrib Salah, that was a must. When Dede would sit on his musala, turn around and see who's going to come in to open up the rest of the mats so that everybody has a place to stand and make sujood and we all salah together. That was the best times of our lives because Dede kept the Muslim education intact. As jolly as he was a well-educated but very friendly kind of man. But he wouldn't see anybody going out of line. That was not him. Because the education of the Muslim was in him. Because my daddy was taught at some sheikh. I can't remember the name. All I know is the day that I said to him, Sheikh, I don't know what, Najjar or something. Not Najjar, but did you hear? He's Maningau. Toe skel hy vir my uit, kan jy my nie eerder gesê het nie, weet jy nie, hy sê gelief man wat ek by geleer het nie. Toe hoor ek eers vir die eerste keer my pa, so highly educated daarom, het Ali, Tat, Lunchi en Pieter Kusyn vir hom geskree, Sheikh, hy het geleer by die Sheikh en ons het nie geweet het nie.
But what struck me most about Peter Ahmad was you get people making the Haddad different ways. The shortened version and that. The Ahmad didn't cut corners. Am I right? He used to know, and if you know the Haddad, there's long du'as, there's about 4 long du'as that is related to the Haddad itself. He knew every du'a by heart. I couldn't understand. He never had a book in his hand to refer to. Hy was ek nou nie. No, he knew that all by heart.
Ek was een van die kinders met buitekant staan as hy al dan afgat. Nou skree jy, is wag toe. Nou hoor hulle binne om hulle paas te breek. Daar staan goeie hulle boge. Is wag toe.
Lali used to must wait for that red line, and then when he closed the window, and then we know now that Adhan is gonna go. Then we used to, as soon as Adhan goes, then we run up Kortedijk Road and we shout, wag toe, wag toe. Then my uncle, who stayed just above the hill, on top, in the mountain there, he used to hear us shouting, and he used to stand with a white towel or something in his hand. And as soon as he hears us shouting, wag toe, then he used to wave it like that. The people at the fisherman flat, they could see him waving, and they also knew it was time to break the fast. That's how wonderful it was. I mean, you don't see that today.
Behalve die poetjies, is mos maar die koekies. Ja, nee, ons almal het by die masjid nou, whatever, nou by mekaar gekom. En dan het hulle elke een sy koekies gebring. En dan het almal voorgesit en so het ons nou, wanneer het die Adhan, dan het almal geshare met mekaar. Maar daar was baie stout ouens, man. As voor die Adhan afgaat, dan skree hulle al vir haar woorde. Hulle mos dan die masjid is al onder, dan skree hulle, wag toe. Dat was glad nog die wag toe.
The Ahmad Sedick, he plays such a pivotal role in Kalk Bay where the Haddad is concerned. And he was so skilled in what he did. And when it came to the time with the group areas, that was in the 60s, then we used to keep Haddad before. Now you can remember that was before 67 that we used to have the Haddads. And when the people told him we have to move out of Kalk Bay because of the Group Areas Act, the wheels just came off in Kalk Bay. That person was lost to us. It left a gaping hole in Kalk Bay. Nobody after that could fill his shoes in Kalk Bay as a person that could do the Haddad. Butamana used to do the dhikr, but Butamana wasn't a person that used to do the Haddad.
The binding force, I would say, was Maulud Jamas and the dhikrs, the Ratib Al-Haddad, that kept that unity. So regardless if we were relocated to different areas in the Western Cape, we still continued in that same vein. Alhamdulillah. My message to Fahmi Sedick is simply this. We come from a long history of people that have inspired others, taught others this beautiful deen of Islam. We go back to Istanbul, where the Sedick family hails from. And then we go to the Ahmad Sedick, your grandfather, was into dhikrullah, and now after his demise, we find that Fahmi Sedick, the younger son of the Ahmad Sedick, has taken over.
Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad فاتح لما أخلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق ولا إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وأصحابه حق قدره ومقداره العظيم.
I am Muhammad Fahmi Sedick, the son of Al-Hajj Achmad Sedick, son of Al-Hajj Muhammad Sedick, who was the brother of Al-Hajj Sheikh Muawiyah Sedick. Sheikh Muawiyah Sedick played a very prominent role in the propagation of Islam at the Cape. His forte was actually teaching people to become Hafiz al-Quran. Sheikh Muawiyah Sedick was the third Imam of the Yusufiyya Masjid in Wynberg. He had the honor of leading Salah in the Haram of Makkatul Mukarramah. And the astonishing fact is that Sheikh Muawiyah Sedick was the Hifz teacher of the well-known Hufaz Sheikh Salih Abada. I am the seventh child born to Al-Hajja Rasira Salim and Al-Hajj Achmad Sedick. In 1970, we moved out of Kalk Bay and we moved into number 6 Geloof Street, Steenberg. Amongst my many teachers that I had at Harmony Primary School, there was one that stood out, and that was the mother of one of my friends, Sadiq Davids, Auntie Farida Davids Al-Marhoom. She, by the way, she was married to Adnan Davids, affectionately known as Uncle Dopey. Now, Auntie Farida had a very special connection with me. The reason being is I wasn't the first sibling of the family that she taught. She actually taught your uncle, Nazim Sadiq, at Arsenal. Hence, she took an interest in me. So Auntie Farida was very caring, very encouraging, you know. And I will never forget, this is what Auntie Rida used to tell us in class. And I'm going to say this in Afrikaans. She taught us English, but she said it in Afrikaans. Sy het gesê, as jy nie lees nie, sal jy agter die klip bly. And that had an impact on me, because knowledge is power. Yeah, now of course, Islamse School played a vital role. Ek remember, daar was 'n Butahima. Sy sal nie vir Butahima ken nie, sy was te jonk. Butahima het gewoon in die council huise daar naby Kredok Road, en daar was Haji. Haji het gewoon in Evanula Breton Road. Haji het gewoon in 'n huis wat hulle noem die Big House. Die reason hoekom hulle die huis genoem het die Big House is because baie families het gewoon in die huis. Na Haji het ek gedecide ek gaan 'n bietjie Islamse skool in Kalk Bay. That is when I went to Kalk Bay to the then Imam of Al-Jamia Masjid in Kalk Bay, Al-Hajj Abdul Rahman Fortune, affectionately known to us as Butamana. Van maandag tot na donderdag het ek getravel met die trein van Steenberg, Kalk Bay toe na Butamana Islamse School. But on a Monday evening, I was in luck, because Butamana used to give me a lift home on a Monday evening. Maar een maandag aan, toe Butamana moes vir my aflaai, toe sê Butamana, my klong, ek gaan saam met jou in. Ek kan iets verkeerd gaan doen. Nou anyway, Butamana kom saam in, en hy approach my pa. Nou Butamana het vir my pa genoem, Buta Agis. En beta mana groet en alles. En sê vir beta Agis man, die klomp van beta Agis, hy het potential. En ek wil vir hom wegstuur na 'n full-time Islamic institution, sodat hy kan gaan leer. Because ek wil hy moet in die future nog die imam moet in Kalk Bay, sy masjid. In 1978, I was enrolled at Heathfield High School, from 1978 to 1982. It was at Heathfield High School that I met my long-standing friend, Fadil Wahi. You see, Safiq, back in the day, het ons klasse omgeruil. Die teachers het in hulle klasse gebly, maar die klas het geruil van een klas na die ander. So, we were going up the corridor and their class was coming down the corridor. Nou, toe stop ek om ons man. Ek sê, Fadi, ek sê, Maaf, hoe kan jy die liedjie? Not knowing that he comes from a family who is known for their singing. I come from a family who is not known for our singing. But ek vra toe vir hom, toe sê vir my, nee, toe explain hy mos toe vir my, hulle bynaam is die skape. Nou die skape is famous singers. En toe gee vir my die hele history, hoe hy in kennis dra van die Nederlands liedere en het die song actually geskryf vir sy papa die vorige week. Toe moes hy song se woorde afskryf vir sy papa. Wat 'n coincidence. En daai is hoe my en Fadil so long-standing relationship begin het. Lied se naam is Wy hoor ek hier. Is 'n baie bekende liedjie. En die liedjie gaan as volg. Wy hoor ek hier. So Claremont en so klaagten. Dat is die eerste lintjes af ik. 1978, Abdullah Ahadin was appointed as the principal of the Square Islamic Educational Society. I attended that school throughout my high school years. Imam Abdullah Ahadin approached me and he asked me to lead the Isha Salah during the Ramadan, during the month of Ramadan. After I've completed my 5 years with Imam Abdullah Ahadin, I decided it was now time to go to the master himself. Nou wie dink jy wie vir my geïntroduce aan Sheikh Abdul Rahim? None other than my dear friend Fadil Wahi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala wa ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All praise and thanks are due solely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Chooses peace, blessings and salutations upon our master and exemplar Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I think it's safe to assume that they'll put a lower third, so I'm going to feel a bit strange to say my name. But nonetheless, Irshad Sedick, many people call me Maulana, but I'm just part of the Sedick family and a very, very proud member at that. I'm the youngest son of the late Al-Hajj Yusuf Sedick, who was the son of Hajj Achmad Sedick. And the word Siddiq is a very high word to live up to, because it was in fact the nickname of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and it means one who stands up for the truth and one who speaks the truth and who accepts the truth. But I remember the type of adab and discipline that my grandfather, we all called him Deda, right? I know him as Deda, but Hajj Achmad Sedick, he had a very stern discipline. He was a jolly person. I mean, he made jokes and he laughed, but his adab, his discipline, everything was, akhta maka, everything had to be done in a certain way. He would sit even if he's painting, he's sitting like in a tahiyat position, and he would paint an entire garden wall in that position, and like you turning and twisting and trying all sorts of moves to sit, and he's just sitting in that way. When it came to Jumu'ah, very mu'addab, you know, dressed to the nines. Anything that he would wear, anything new that he received or that he purchased or that was gifted to him, he doesn't wear it until he wears it to Jumu'ah. That's the type of adab that he had, and that was very evident in the dhikr circles. I remember that. You can't just come and bacha how you want, or Butalunchi, for example, I remember would rectify people's tajweed in the riwayats. I mean, my bro, in the riwayats, that is hardcore. I've never seen anybody be strict about the riwayats, but Butalunchi was. And that type of adab from the older generation, I miss that. That sometimes sort of stands out. And I hope, inshallah, that some of that can be maintained as we go through the passage of time. I recall that the moment the dhikr comes to an end, you know, and they do the salawat for the saji. I don't know if that's the right term that I'm using, but Allahumma salli ala Muhammad Ya Rabbi salli alayhi wa sallim. And once they start, you know, bringing this particular puji, other than the fact that the barakata is going to come out now and the buba is going to come out now, it's always an entertaining moment also, because it's time to make fun of Auntie Nouri's dalchis, or it's time to make fun of Auntie Malam's buba, or it's time to make a joke about something. Everybody was always happy and jolly, and this brought a sense of love and affection. I remember memorizing Surah Yasin, Surah Mulk, the three calls, Ayatul Kursi, all of these oft recited surah in the circles of dhikr. It was just a thing. On a Thursday night, there's going to be a dhikr at a different family member's house. My grandfather, Hajj Achmad Sedick, would lead, and all of my uncles would participate. And had it not been for the efforts of Uncle Fahmi, I don't know if the current generation of cousins or their kids or their kids' kids would even know what the dhikr is all about, especially because of the changing world in the last couple of years. But be that as it may, this venture is going on with the family and so forth, and the heritage that they picked up from his father, Haji Ahmad, and who subsequently picked it up from their teachers, whoever they were, and you know, all of the family of the past, the efforts live on, whether it be in the form of ilm. So we had Imam Muawiyah Sedick, who was a great uncle of mine, who was the teacher of Sheikh Saleh Abadi, and that's a legacy of ilm that I'm very honored to call my own, you know, because it's a family member. And then the legacy of dhikr as well continues, where the broader family, even though they're not necessarily involved in the learning and teaching of deen formally, they still manage to keep deen alive in other ways.
'n week voor Dede mos maningel man. Toe roep Dede vir my in die kamer. Sê Dede vir my, jy weet mos wat om te doen. So I knew what he was referring to, because Dede was quite aware that ek regularly madrasa toe gehad het en my education gefurther het, and so I was capable of doing these things. So it was quite a daunting task when Dede said, right, jy weet mos nou wat om te doen. But dieselfde tyd moet ek sê dat die persoon wat vir my geguide het en ge-encourage het om dit te doen, was none other than Dede se geliefde vriend Butalunchi. He guided me all the way. In the dhikrs, in the Ratib Al-Haddad, he used to say, you lead, you need the practice, and I will guide you. If you make a mistake, I will tell you. Otherwise, you just carry on. So yes, I've got a lot of gratitude for Butalunchi for guiding me and encouraging me to carry on with all the duties that Dede used to do.
Butalunchi was the eerste.
Nee, Butalunchi was de eerste en een half. Kijk hier, Butalunchi. Dede het moest altijd voor Butalunchi gesê, Lunchi, sy kry mos die vrokkie in die hemp. Nou sy is die vrokkie Lunchi, sy is nader as hom. He was a learned man. He was very opinionated. But I used to like to talk to him. And even he used to ask, hoe gaat het saam met Nouri? Vloek sy nou altyd so baie? Hoe gaat het saam met Malam? You know? He would always inquire about him. So Butalunchi played a pivotal role, vital role since the days of Kalk Bay.
Jou pa en sy jongste, Shafiq, het 'n baie soort temper gehad. Alright. Soos was een van die Saterdag aande, wat mama en dede moes nou byskool toe gegaan het. Nou mama se suster Sabira, wat ons genoem het affectionately as Amati, het gewoon saam met ons vir al haar jare. Sy het nooit getrou nie. Toe kyk Amati mos na ons man, die kinders. En jou pa vra toe vir Amati vir iets. I don't know, it must have been something to eat. But daar was hy, toe sê Amati mos nou vir hom, Yusuf, daar is hy. En hy hou mos dik man, soos ons sal sê. En hy raak kwaad. En hy begin vir Amati te jaam. En hy jaam vir Amati uit die huis uit, tot binne in die toilet. Want tyd was die toilet buitekant. En hy sluit die toilet deur. En hy staan daar met 'n byl en hy sê, kom jy net uit die toilet, ek slat vir jou met die byl.
أمتنا على دين الإسلام.
Julle het 'n bietjie verfeit, né? Dien al-Islam. Julle kan eire bietjie te lang as te kort, because that we can bring in we can shorten it. Fadil, you know, our choral arranger has indicated that in a few verses the tenors were off the note.
Yes.
So we were going to get an external tenor to come and do those verses.
Okay.
You know, but Vicky tried, he couldn't get a tenor here. I tried. I attempted with two guys, I couldn't get them here. So this afternoon I realized, but no, it's not necessary to get external tenors here. Our guys, our tenors did 60% of the job. So they can come in on Saturday and we can do the 40% that's remaining to perfection. Maybe on that specific evening they were just tired. That's why they couldn't get to the note. But alhamdulillah, on Saturday they will be rested. And I've got full confidence in them.
My name's Ryan Afka. I'm a sound engineer and I work on dubbing for foreign movies, Turkish, various foreign things. So I guess it wasn't that odd that I got involved with some Arabic things. Yeah, Uncle Fatima is looking for a sound engineer in the area and I happened to just graduate, so it was a perfect opportunity for me to get involved and get involved in some mixing because I'm really interested in that. Besides the dubbing and things like that. You know. Even though you don't understand everything, Uncle Fatima is there to explain, to translate something, so you do pick up some things and it's worship, it's praise, so you still feel it even if you don't necessarily understand the language.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I am truly honored to be part of this project. It's a project that's very close to my heart. I've always felt that it's important for us to amplify and to support and to give credence to the efforts made by our forefathers, especially when it comes to matters of the deen, because that is our identity. We are trying to strengthen this and to amplify this message in today's society, alhamdulillah. And our children and our grandchildren, inshallah, will take up the banner of Thursday night dhikr, Ratib Al-Haddad, being punctual with their salah, reciting Quran, loving Allah, dedicating time to the deen and less on the other distractions that we have currently in society.
إنك أنت
Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar.
The very first time. Okay. So more to come.
Ek wil vir julle gou iets wys. Omdat ek amper dieselfde gebou soos my daddy. Ek hou vir julle iets wys. Ek het baie dinge vir hom geïnherit. Die is die sorbaan daddy gedra vir die eerste keer van Hajj afgekom.
We are broadcasting live from the residence of Hajj Achmad Sedick at number 6 Geloof Street, Steenberg.
My naam is Ahmad Sedick en ek is gebore in Claremont, grootgeword in Claremont. Later heb ik trek af naar Lansdowne toe, maar in daardie tijd was Lansdowne baie ver geweest. Toen trek my ouers maar weer naar Claremont toe. Second MU Claremont. Daardie tijd toen ze voor Claremont, dat is die vlak. Toen bleef ze in die vlak. Ook aan Rattelstraat in Second MU, het is Timilali gebleven. Zij was de zuster van imam Amin Bons. Ik en mijn broer, Buta Jolly Sedick, het baie daar gegaan en daar het ons geleerd om gadat te maken bij Buta Hassan Abdurrahman. Hij het later imam geword bij de Hawi Roodse Masjid. Toen hij later bezig was met zijn bacha, want hij was een gafisman. Hij was van die mannen wat samen met mijn onkel imam Ma'awiyah Sedick gebacha heeft. Na Buta Hassan het Amisali Gasnudin die gadat overgevat en ik het gauw aangevangen. Dit was allemaal in early 40s. Ik was later die man in charge van die gadat. In die jaar 1945 heb ik getrouwd. Toen ga ik blij in die Kalk Bay. Maar ik heb elke donderdag aan Claremont toe gegaan om die gadat te gaan maken. Later van tijd, toen die geboorte van ons tweede kind, heb ik niet meer gegaan. Nie. Maar toen mijn vrouw zijn vader Maningel In 1960 toe begin ek weer met 'n jama in Kalk Bay. My jama was 'n jong span. Hulle was later die jieke jama van Kalk Bay toe die ou span wegval. Vandag maar ek nie veel gedat nie. Is net as die mense my vra, hoekom ek dink dit is nou tyd vir die jong span om oor te vat. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأهل بيته الكرام الفاتحة.
Shukran everyone. Just before Asr, I would like to call on Sheikh Ibrahim Gabriels. We still have some time, I think, just to give us an overview of what we have seen here today. Sheikh Ibrahim.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Honorable MC Rashad, all our respected ulama, the beloved Sadiq family, and everybody present, I greet you with universal greetings of love and peace and mercy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I must say that I'm very honored to be here. And maybe Shafiq Sadiq couldn't have asked a better person to be here. The reason I'm saying that is because ek is van die vlak. En ek het die gedat geleer in die vlak. And so many times was ek saam met Hajj Achmad Sedick in die gedat. Subhanallah. And I just heard now that Buddha Ahmad Sadick said that he was by Imam Amin Bon. Tomorrow we are celebrating the 60-jaar getal van Imam Bon in Claremont Masjid. It's going to be live on Voice of a Cape also. And Imam Amin Bon, my oma se naam was Oma Munira. And Oma Munira is a sister van Imam Amin Bon. So ek is actually emotional soos ek hier staan. And then I read the history now that Imam Amin Bon's vrou is related to die Rycliffe in die Wynberg. En die Rycliffe se oupa en oma het gebou die Yusufia Masjid. And the list just goes on. Subhanallah. And I think maybe we didn't realize the value of the Ratib Al-Haddad. I mean, all the dhikr that we, for example, the dhikr is baie emotional. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Maybe also realize that as the 4 words that are the most beloved words to Allah. En dan die dhikr wat die Mughlisi nou net gemaak het, la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Die Nabi Muhammad says, khayru ma qultu ana wa nabiyyuna min qabli. Die beste wat ek ooit gesê het en al die nabies is la ilaha illallah wahdahu. En dis almal die dhikr wat ons maak. Amitna ala deen al-Islam. For how many years does the people of Cape Town say, oh Allah, laat ons doodgaan op die deen van Islam? This Muslim community of Cape Town is one of the best Muslim communities in the world. It's one community that kept on to the deen of Islam. And not maybe, definitely is because of these du'as. Because in so many other countries, daar was Muslim communities, maar daar is niks van hoe oorblij nie. Baie van hulle het geword non-Muslims, alhamdulillah. And last year, when I was in Tarim, where Imam Abdullah Haddad comes from. And you must remember, Imam Haddad is just another Imam. He was one of the awliya, as-salihin. And he was a great alim. So the Ratib Al-Haddad is not just a simple thing, it's big, it's massive in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. And just imagine, we made the Ratib Al-Haddad at the qabr of Imam Haddad. And I'm sharing with you, wallahi, I cried. You know why I cried when we were making Ratib Al-Haddad by the qabr of Imam Haddad? Because at that moment, Allah granted me the understanding that is because of this Ratib Al-Haddad that Allah has preserved this community. Wallahi. This is a beautiful community, alhamdulillah. So I would strongly invite everybody and the Mukhlisin to go to Tarim in Yemen. Do you know that in Darul Mustafa in Tarim in Yemen, they don't make it every Thursday night, they make it every day, the Ratib Al-Haddad. Every day in Darul Mustafa, in that masjid. My son is studying there for 7.5 years. Brothers and sisters, ek gaan nie exaggerate nie. After Makkah and Medina, it is most probably die beste plek om in te wees nou. It's a safe place. It's a simple place. Net die mynpatte is 'n bietjie tee. Almal die ander patte is stof. Nie nog sandy, stof. But the spirituality in Tarim, it's amazing. Allahu Akbar. So, shukran for having me here. En ek het nie geweet, almal die mooi mense behoort aan die Sedick family nie. En wallah, as ons dieper gaan, dan gaan ons uit van almal van ons is familie van Makkah. Alhamdulillah. So may Allah grant us tawfiq, inshallah. My last word that I want to say is, and I think this was the idea of this documentary, that we must revive the Ratib Al-Haddad. And may Allah grant that almal van ons gaat 'n rol speel om te revive die Ratib Al-Haddad. Jazakallah khairan. Shukran. Baitra makasi. So, shukran.
Shukran Sheikh Ibrahim for another moving tribute to our ancestors and how they preserved the Ratib Al-Haddad and how we should be preserving that as well. Just remember, we will be breaking now for Asr. Please use the door on the left and please come in by the door on the left, and thereafter we will close off and have some snacks as well. So please do come back after Asr. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, as I said, everybody come back here after Asr immediately. Okay, we have to finish it off. Shukran, salam. For those who are on live stream, shukran for joining us. We will be ending off now, and we will start again after Asr, inshallah. Shukran, salam alaikum.